the Advanced Analytics Division of Geonkis Holdings. This session is part of our ongoing webinar series where we delve into various facets of data and analytics to empower businesses with cutting-edge knowledge and tools. Our theme today is why is effective data management crucial for successful business implementation? And in an era where data is a key driver of business success, understanding how to manage it effectively is more important than ever. So effective data management is the foundation on which advanced analytics, artificial intelligence infrastructure, and ethical data practices are built upon. So throughout this session, we aim to provide you with insights and actionable strategies that will help you harness the power of data management to drive business success. And for this, we have an exciting lineup of speakers and experts who will share their experiences and knowledge on these crucial topics. So on to the introduction of our panelists for today. Firstly, we have Charnika Bandulheva, the Principal Solution Architect at OCTAVE. Charnika is an expert in designing and implementing architectures to host and support advanced analytics initiatives. Next, we have Dr. Sumine Rajdure, the Principal Machine Learning Engineer at OCTAVE. Dr. Sumine specializes in developing sophisticated machine learning models and has a deep understanding of how to leverage data for predictive analytics. Joining us as well, we have Chamila Sirivardhana, the Associate Architect at OCTAVE. Chamila's expertise lie in creating scalable and efficient data management solutions. And lastly, we have Poonima Pires, who is a Senior Data Engineer. Her domain of expertise lies in building and optimizing data pipelines, ensuring data quality and accessibility. So a warm welcome to our panelists as well. And with the formalities settled on the introduction, let us now enter into the discussion at hand. Our first topic out of a four-part segment for you today, structured out on this area, is understanding data management and its challenges in driving advanced analytics, where here we'll discuss the common hurdles businesses face in managing data, from data silos to quality issues. And for this segment, I would like to invite Charnika Bandulheva to join the conversation.
Hi, Raghu.
Hello, Charnika. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, doing good. How are you?
Brilliant. So Charnika, fantastic, fantastic. Just settling after the rain, but the weather's treating us well.
Yeah.
So Charnika, as I set forth the context on the introduction of the importance of this topic, I think what will be important for our audience here is to understand why data management is a challenge. And for that, we would like to hear your thoughts on some of the common data management hurdles that organizations face when trying to implement advanced analytics in their businesses.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, Raghu. So that's the basic we need to understand. Before we go for hurdles, I think the exact definition that you mentioned about why data management is important in the organization. So that's what we need to think about. So why data management? So what is data? So is that data that much important? So the answer is obviously yes. So data management for organization that because of to understand to data-driven decisions, the security, the take their kind of the trend analysis, sector analysis, Gen AI. So a lot of things the organization can enable through rightly managed data. So that we need data management. Data management is designed that need to manage in organization. So I need to rephrase famous motto about data. So on advanced analytics, actually, the model behaviors, not about their hyperparameters, not about their factors. It's all about the data. So data quality. So that's why the data is the base. So there is a base. This is the root of that district. So that's why data is that part of important. So that's why I think. And other thing is the people, I think, when we talk about data management or data, so normally people think about sources and data engagement and store them on historical governance. Not only that, through this advanced journey, the data is actually your resource also data. So, for example, let's say the metadata. The definition is data about data. But what's the definition for resource? Actually, resource is data from data. So the consumption layer, the end user is going to access again your data. So the data management is should have to cover end-to-end from sources to end user consumption. So that's how the data management is seen. So only exact question on hurdles organization actually. Let me articulate like this. So when you thinking about data management, it's actually I can see the 7 key layers, 7 key areas that we need to think about. So the first one is data sources. So all these areas we have challenges, separate challenges, their differences and hurdles that we need to talk about. So one is data sources, Excel data sources, internet sources. I think data sources is what the organization should have to think about, what data we need to understand and get on their roadmap for data activities. Second one is data engagement, get data that their sources to add data analytics environment. So where the magic is happen. So on data ingestion, there are 3 types of ingestion: CDC, the change data capturing, and the batch, and the challenge, the most challenging part is streaming the real-time data. To take data real time, that because of now this AI, actually the data volume and velocities, the much larger. It's the fast, the big data era now is Gen AI. So the big data is actually now is actually the massive big data. So velocity and volume is much larger. So real-time data ingestion, and we are working with mostly now we are working with for Gen AI, especially unstructured data. So need to think about how real-time data ingestion actually can solve those problems. So kind of the big challenge will be organization will be this real-time data ingestion on their addressing document. So then we need to think about data storage. So where after ingest, where we need to store our data. That may be a data lake, it may be a data storage, data warehouse. So nowadays the technology is data lake house. The Databricks provide data lakehouse, and now the new Fabric also provide the same data lakehouse on the architecture. So needs to understand what storage type and how we need to store our data. We need to think about performance first, the read performance, write performance based on the journey, the scalability, the volume and cost, obviously, and the life cycle. How you can manage your data, which layers automatically we can move your data, what archives and cold layers like that. And data, the governance sciences, I will come for that point. So third one is storage. The fourth one is the processing. How actually the processing is all about computing. That should have, again, the processing should have the scalability opportunities, right? That because we are going to process set of the massive much of data. So on-demand processing or the in-memory processing or the MPP, the indexing, a lot of things we need to think about when you are actually modeling for a data model on processing part. So maybe distributed, this may be non-distributed. That actually is actually the well bind with storage and ingestion and everything. So data processing is the computational part, is the fourth one, and the governance. Next one is security, obviously. So the governance is it's a kind of the wide topic here. The government is not only govern your exact analytical solution or the resource that you are providing, is to govern from data sources to consumption layer. So these days the challenge is to have kind of one governance capability or one governance kind of challenge for organization to understand what type of governance and how we can implement governance. So and the knowledge should have to pass on so the finding data steward and educate him and train him to govern and understand this exact ecosystem. Those are the things we need to understand on data governance part. And security. So security, again, it's a much wide scope. We said that because of this advanced big data and into the picture. So set of principles and the compliances
Sorry, Chanika, I think there's a connection with your network. We just lost you for a couple of seconds. I can see Sumane's and Shamina's screen moving smoothly, so I presume it's not an issue on their end. Chanika, do you just want to retrace the last 30 seconds?
Okay, so from where
Sorry,
actually
Chanika, I was just saying, sorry, Chanika, sorry to interrupt. I was just saying that there was a network drop from your end.
yeah,
And
now
we
you
lost
can
you
hear
on the
me.
last. Yeah, it's a bit better now. If you can just retrace the last 30 seconds, we lost you at data
Yes,
security.
actually.
We
Yeah, I
lost you
was
at the
at
7
actually
point data
about
security.
data processing part. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that was clear. So we need to think about the computational part on our data modeling, data management architectures. That because of the processing, maybe on disk or demand processing or the in-memory or the NPP. So those things we need to think about when we are actually moving forward with exact data management, the correct data management solution. The second one, the fifth one, actually, I talk about data governance. The governance is a much wider topic these days because of when you talk about governance, it's not only govern your exact resource or the models, that to govern from source to consumption layer. So these days, actually, the problem is for organization needs to understand what exact single governance point to govern from sources to consumption. So those things need to understand and to think about when implement data management processes and architectures on organization. The last one, actually, sixth one is data security. The security, again, the wide topic on these days because of set of the security and security regulations implemented last few years. That because of we are now working with big data again, Gen AI and everything. The last few months, actually, the safety principles also introduced on Gen AI on ethics and securities, and we need to think about what are regulation and compliances. We need to move forward. Maybe that to match it to your country regulation and regulation system. Maybe it's ISO, the NIST, or the GDPR or other country level regulations. So those things we need to think about when you're moving with data management. The last one is access. So if we need to provide your data or the solution data as a service, you need to think about what kind of accesses. This may be what are the PII anonymization you need to do, how we can identify PII based on your businesses, and what kind of anonymization you use, again, what type of access, who can access which data, when, what. So those things and what APIs you are providing, and dashboard and everything, which dashboard with which access, how which data part actually we are enabled to access to with this group, like that. So set of that's again a wide topic to discuss about the accesses. So basically, Raghu, these are the 7 layers we need to think about when you're going to data management. Again, all challenges with all these 7, and all these 7 I can implement as these hurdles on organization when you're going to implement data management.
Very much appreciated, Jonathan. Thank you for actually giving us that structured landscape for us to move the conversation along the contours in which you have established, because I think giving us that seven areas of focus gave some real clarity in terms of visualizing this entire life cycle, as you mentioned it, from the sources, which is a beginning point, to your end point, which is in terms of how the data is going to be used, and everything in between is the connective bridge. So I think in your speech, you were able to cover not just the challenges, but then you also emphasized in terms of what are some of the new challenges which are getting emphasized because of the emergence of new technologies such as artificial intelligence, generative AI, and everything in this whole new space of data science that we're just talking about, right? And also some of the real life scenarios and then examples you were also able to touch upon, which gave us quite a refreshing outlook. So just for the benefit of the audience gathered here today, just to summarize on what those 7 key focus areas are. First, on identifying what the key data sources are. Second is in terms of streamlining your data in your data ingestion. And third is with respect to configuring the optimal data storage to facilitate your entire data lifecycle. And fourth, we have on identifying the right data processing needs. And fifth is defining the right data security frameworks and on handling PII data. and sixth dimension on establishing the right data governance. And finally, we ended off with talking about the importance of having the right data access configured as well. So I think
Yes.
that just gives a very good roadmap for us to segue into the next bit of conversations. But I just want to question you on just one area, which is with
Yeah.
respect to PII data, for the benefit of the audience, if you can just decode that space for us and let us and then give us some perspective as to why this is becoming more and more important
Yes.
compared to previously when we're
Good.
talking
Good
about
question.
advanced analytics projects.
Yeah. Like actually, good question again. So the PII, the personal identifying information, that because of why those are important. So the PII considered that through privacy concern and security, sometimes the regulatory compliances or the data sharing and maybe the economic trust. So that's why the PII came to the picture in the previous day. And the PII annualization, the customer, for example, they are working with our customers' data. So we need their consent if we need to open the exact detail for others. So those the compliances and security and protection came as PII. But nowadays, the kind of risks also we are identified on this AI journey, on ML journey. For example, the four type of risks actually identified on AI journey and kind of ethics and securities we need to implement to mitigate them. So that's for actually basically the loss of autonomy that's actually covered the previous set of PII definition, and loss of interpersonal connection and empathy, and poor quality or hazardous outcome, bias, injustice, inequality, and discrimination. So those are the four risks areas and factors that identified now towards on this AI journey. So to mitigate those, the set of principles also defined. I think, but safety was the principle previously defined, and additional is also added now. So that's talking about how we can actually mitigate this, not only PII, the security and ethics on this advanced access journey that we need to manage. So those safety principles, basically the first is for sustainability, the second is for safety, accountability, the fairness, explainability, and the D is for data stewardship. So that's talking about that is talking about the data quality, the integrity, the protection, privacy protection, and to assure your protection. So that's kind of model and principles now built to understand and protect the exact person and PII as well as their everything. So not only PII, the business sensitive data also we need to protect. So that kind of ethical as well as security environment now being built, Tagbo. So yeah, I think
Yeah, thank you, Chad.
when we
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. I think that was just incredibly insightful, uh, and then we went slightly beyond the topic of the challenges to give our audience some more further context on the key areas about PI data, which was important, I thought, for the rest of the series of conversations that we'll be having today. So that just gives us the segue into our second topic. So thank you, Chanaka. I would now like to
Thank you.
invite Purnima Pires, where our second topic will now expound on the strategies for addressing data management challenges. So Purnima, we heard about what Shanak had to say about the challenges, and I think that just begs the question about how do we go about circumventing these challenges? What are the strategies to ensure data quality and integrity when coming into advanced analytics projects?
Yes, yes, Rakpo. Ensuring data quality and integrity in advanced analytics project is crucial for accurate and reliable results. Therefore, we can adapt to several strategies. Main strategy is use of reliable data source. We need to obtain data from trusted and reputed sources. Additionally, validate third-party data before integrating into our system. And second strategy is data cleaning. For example, remove duplicates records, fix errors like typos and incorrect entries, handle missing data appropriately. And third strategy is data validation. Check for data consistency and accuracy by comparing it against known standard of rules. For example, if a customer ID should be a 10-digit number, make sure all entries follow the rules. Fourth strategy is data consistency and uniformity. We should ensure data is uniform across different systems sharing the same dataset. For example, if two databases contain customer information, ensure that the same customer has consistent NIC and address information in both. Fifth strategy is documentation. Keep detailed records of data sources, method used for data collection, and transformation applies to the data. Maintain a data dictionary that define all variables and their meanings. Another strategy is we can perform regular audit, especially when we are getting data from API, we should conduct data audit on source and targets. For a simple example, if the source table contains 1,000 records, the target table must also reflect the same number of records. Access control also another strategy, restrict data access to authorized person only. We can prevent unauthorized data modification. Furthermore, process automation and use of data quality dashboard to monitor data quality we can take as another strategy. Finally, we should train all team members on data management best practices. This is very important for an organization. By adapting to these strategies, we can achieve more accurate results on advanced analytics project.
Well, thank you, Purnima. That was quite the loaded commentary in terms of sharing the perspective on the strategies. So I think once again, for the benefit of the audience, if I may summarize, you mentioned 5 key strategies. One was on the use of reliable data sources, data cleaning, data validation, data unification, data processing, data documentation rather, and process automation. So these were some of the key strategies that you mentioned, just in summary. But I would like to highlight your starting phrase, which is that data management is crucial for reliable and accurate results. Well, this is a statement which is taken for granted, I would say very much, because we think everything is in order, that our house is in order just because we have been doing data science, software engineering, and everything for such a long time. But this is always a lingering problem where garbage could come in any time, and garbage in is just garbage out, right? So I think this entails or necessitates us to look at certain frameworks, such as data governance frameworks, which I believe is another key aspect in terms of when we talk about strategies, right? So is this an area which you can give us more insight on in terms of how organizations can establish more robust data governance frameworks?
To begin with, Rakbo, establishing a robust data governance framework is essential for supporting advanced analytics initiative. First, we need to define clear objective and the scope by determining what we want to achieve from our data governance framework. For example, compliance, data quality, or security. Next is to establish data governance roles and responsibilities. Identify who are the data stewards and assign individual responsibles for data quality and integrity within different departments. Identify data owners and designated people with authority over specific data assets responsible for data management and security. Finally, we need to establish a data governance committee. Form a committee with representative from various departments to oversee and guide data governance effective. Especially, they are the people who are taking decision about PII data. Furthermore, introduce internal policies and procedures, for example, data management policies, data quality procedures, access control policies. These are a few examples. And use of metadata management also another strategy, creating and maintaining a metadata repository toward document data sources, definition, and usage. Further, we need to ensure data security and privacy by implementing security measures to protect data from unauthorized access and breaches. Sometimes we may need to compliance and adherence to relevant data privacy laws and regulations. This may be an international or Sri Lankan, for example, data protection bill, GDPR, PCI DSS kind of regulations we have to follow. Finally, whatever we done, we need to foster a data-driven culture by having training and educating on data governance policies and best practices. Conduct awareness program to promote the importance of data governance across the organization. We, they will lead these initiatives will lead support data analytics.
Well, thank you, Purma. Well, I really appreciate the layering that you brought into dissecting what our ideal governance framework is. Because as you rightly mentioned, the most important thing always when we talk about bringing in something to an organization is determining what we want. And from that understanding to then fledge out on the other fundamentals, which is data governance, governance committee that you mentioned, policies and procedures, and finally on the data security and privacy aspect. So you have that as a best practice, but when you start with determining what we want, that helps us add a flavor to how we align with these fundamentals and the best practices. So that perspective paints a very holistic picture in terms of addressing some of the concerns that companies have in terms of what should entail a robust framework. So I think from here, you also bring out the fact that we need some automation, we need some continuous monitoring and guardrails, right? So can you lead us to any specific tools or technologies that can help streamline data management? Because as you rightly said, it's not something which we can just give attention to today and forget about it tomorrow, assuming that things are going to be in place. It has to be a recurring iterative process. Can you elaborate a bit more on how that could be made more iterative and automated?
Yes, Rakbo, there are several tools and technologies that we can streamline data management process. These tools help us to integrate data integration, quality management, data management, and more. But Rakbo, choosing a right data management tool depend on company's data strategy. Firstly, for structured data, we can consider tools like Informatica, Microsoft Azure Synapse Analytics, Fabrics, Azure Data Factory, Oracle Autonomous Data Warehouse, Snowflakes. Secondly, for managing unstructured data effectively, we can consider options such as Apache Hadoop, Apache Spark with Azure Gen 2 Data Lake, AWS related tool like Amazon S3 Data Lake, AWS Glue, Databricks kind of tools. These tools may be cloud-based or non-cloud-based tools we must use according to our data strategy. Tools like Tableau, Power BI, and ClickView are essential for monitoring data optimization, data insight. When choosing a data management tool, we need to prioritize factors such as scalability, data governance, and specific analytic needs. Ultimately, the goal is to ensure the selected tool aligns perfectly with the organization's data-driven goal and business requirements.
Brilliant. Thank you, Purma. Thank you so much. It was quite the sharing of insights, and I'm sure that there's a lot that our audience can take away, especially if we have any people in the audience who represent companies that are playing a similar role that need clarity and understanding in terms of how they can take some of these topics forward with the implementation. That understanding of the technologies and tools available is definitely going to be crucial. I just want to take a quick minute to highlight that we also have the chat option on this Teams platform over here. So if you want to engage with us, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them down because what we are aiming at getting at is have a 1 hour session, which will conclude by around 3 5-3-10, and to leave the remaining bit for the audience to have the questions being answered by the panel that we have here. So then please make use of that opportunity to register your thoughts and do engage with us as we move forward. So this just really builds up to one of the critical topics that we have in our stream of conversation today, which is that we discussed about the challenges and we discussed about the strategies, and now we come to the apex or the peak of the trajectory of this conversation, which is in terms of the solutioning aspect, right? Which is on reflecting on the solutions for building artificial intelligence infrastructures. And for that, I would like to invite Dr. Sumane. Dr. Sumane, how are you doing today? Hope everything is well on your end.
Yeah, everything is
fantastic. Good. So, Dr. Subhane, we had a lot of rich perspective coming our way to identify these challenges and the strategies. And now what we need to see is a marriage of the two in terms of how the strategies can overlay with these challenges, and particularly, I think, taking the purview of cloud-based solutioning, because that's one of the key topics that has come into emergence as we speak about advanced analytics and the new technologies that have come forward. So we would like to hear your thoughts in terms of the advantages and the disadvantages that cloud computing poses as opposed to other alternatives in terms of building and scaling advanced analytic solutions for our audience's benefit.
Right. Thanks, Rakbo. It's a very important question. I mean, before answering your question, I would like to highlight, we would like to understand, you should understand the main characteristics of advanced analytics workloads. Okay, so there are several, characteristics, but I would like to highlight at least 3 here. So the first characteristics of advanced analytics workload is, they often need to process high volume of data. Okay, so the high volume data requirement is there. And then second characteristic is high data velocity. These advanced analytics workloads, they often need to process real time or in near real time and then provide timely insights. For an example, if there's a machine learning model to detect fraudulent credit card transactions, then those transactions should be processed within milliseconds latency. And then third, another important characteristics of this advanced analytics workload is these workloads often need high computing power. Okay, so for an example, workloads like natural language processing or maybe even standard machine learning or deep learning algorithms, they or in predictive analytics, they all need very high computing power. So these are the key characteristics of advanced analytics workload. Okay, so now when we comes to infrastructure support for these advanced analytics workload, we have to consider these whether the infrastructure that we are selecting, whether it can support these particular workload requirements. Okay, so when we go for a cloud infrastructure, it has several advantages, mainly for this advanced analytical workload. The first advantage I would say is scalability. So cloud infrastructure, they can often effortlessly adjust the resource to match the demand and removing need for large upfront investment. So this is the one of the biggest benefit of going for cloud. Okay, so this under the scalability, even we can efficiently handle high data volume, high velocity, and then even significant computing power requirements if we are on the cloud. Okay, that is the first advantage. And then second one I would say is the innovation and integration. So why I am putting at the second place is in the world is moving with very rapid progress in Gen AI and this AI front. Okay, so if you enterprise needs access to the state-of-the-art Gen AI model, for an example, GPT-4 or maybe Gemini or maybe some other model. It's very easier and effortless if you are on the cloud. Okay, so like that, there are several state-of-the-art models even for vision-related applications, face recognition, OCR, or even natural language processing. For these type of applications, the standard or leading cloud providers, they provide all state-of-the-art models, so you can quickly innovate and deploy appropriate AI application for your enterprise, either for your organization or for your customers. So this is the second the main benefit that we get by going cloud. And then third is, BS1 is a cost efficiency. So because these cloud providers, they often practice this pay-as-you-go pricing models that helps us to manage the cost effectively, and then ensuring we pay only what we use. So these are the main advantages of going cloud, I would say. And on the disadvantage front, I would say, there are two I would like to highlight. I mean, the latency. So there can be, you may experience a little bit high latency if your data center or the cloud is located in different region than your main operating region. And then also, the other obvious one is dependency. You tend to depend on the cloud service providers. Those are the minor disadvantages, I would say.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Super. That was quite the enriched yet simplistic perspective that you captured here. And I think in hindsight, what you emphasized as the key characteristics, be it data volume, data velocity, and computational complexity, really ties up the main advantage of cloud computing, being that it's able to handle data management or demand management more effectively and seamlessly in terms of tackling the workload of advanced analytics projects. And of course, the cost efficiency point is a big incentive for companies in the take-up of advanced analytics initiatives, because the cost reduction over time has been quite significant in terms of making this a more accessible enterprise for companies to get into. So with that purview, I would like to sidestep a bit on this topic and then get us reflecting on some of the steps, as we may put it, the steps in building and the key components which a business should pay attention to when setting up the data infrastructure on the cloud. What are your perspectives on that?
Yeah, so this is also another important question. So the first of all, if a organization or enterprise, if the enterprise decides to move to cloud, definitely that's a big initiative. It's an organization-wide initiative where several departments and several stakeholders must coordinate themselves and collaborate. The organizations need to take a very planned and structured approach if they decide to move to a cloud. Okay, so that is what I would say first of all. And then when it comes to steps, there are a couple of steps coming in my mind. The very first one I would say is they have to define the objective. Okay, so the objective of why they decided to go to cloud. Okay, it they may look for different benefits or focus on different benefits, maybe performance or maybe scalability or compliance needs or something. For an example, if your objective is to achieve high performance, you might set an objective of objective to process real-time data with minimal latency, ensuring your AI models can take quick and accurate decisions. But if your objective is scalability or something, then you might need infrastructure to handle tenfold of your data volume in the next couple of months while maintaining the same performance. So like that, objectives can vary organization to organization, but the organization, whoever in this initiative of moving to cloud, first of all, they should decide the objectives of collectively. Okay, so that is the first step, I would say, defining objective. And then the second step, they have to design the architecture, because the cloud providers, they provide several services, several options, tools, and everything. So they have to define design the architecture to meet their objectives. Okay, as I mentioned, if their objectives maybe high performance or near real time performance, then they have to they have to use different set of tools like Kafka and few other like that. They have to go for different tools. But if their objective is something else, then there may be different tools. We have to they have to go for it. So considering everything, they have to design a very holistic architecture that includes data storage, processing layer, analytics, and security, and then everything has to be considered when designing the architecture. That would be the second major step that organizations has to spend. And then, of course, the obvious one is they have to choose the cloud provider. Maybe, depends on the architecture, depends on the requirement, and other factors like, cost and, the commitment. They can decide the cloud provider. And then once this planning stage is completed, they have to move to the implementation stage where the provisioning the services, setting up the necessary cloud services such as the virtual machines to other tools, databases, network components, and then everything. So that is setting up provisioning services. And then the major steps, the next step should be data migration. So if you are moving to cloud, you have to migrate your data to the cloud. This is a very tedious step, I would say. They have to ensure that data integrity is assured, and then there's minimal downtime. So they have to do the data migration, and then security measures should be implemented. And then finally, I would suggest to go for a pilot. So instead of go in a big bang release, it's better to go for a pilot the system, and then understand the issues or pros and cons of this the design and the implementation. And then if they are fully happy, then they can finally go live. So
Definitely.
this is what I
Definitely.
would
I think,
suggest,
yeah, exactly. Thank you, Dr. Subhani, because I think one of the key emphases of your section is in terms of the importance of getting to the bottom of what you want. And it's that act of bringing together all the stakeholders of the company to be aligned on what they want, and
Yep.
setting that as a standard to set the trajectory of how you want to move towards the cloud. Because there's the fascination and the attraction to getting into the cloud because everyone is doing it. But I think that is where most businesses end up with failure, where they just go and replicate rather than making it tailored and relevant to their business needs. So I think there's not enough that we can do in terms of emphasizing that point right across all our speakers in saying that there's no certain blueprint to perfection of any of this. We were talking about data management frameworks, and we were talking about now the framework for cloud adoption as well. So there's not enough emphasis that we can do that it needs to be relevant in terms of being in touch or being in alignment with the business's requirement and objectives. So I think just one final thing that I have for you, Dr. Suman, is so you mentioned the dimension of cloud vendors. I think this is an increasing competitive space in terms of different cloud vendors come with different offers for businesses, and for businesses wanting to tap into this cloud marketplace. What are some of the considerations for them in terms of settling the tide of which vendor, or then like rather what should be the thinking process of how they should approach the selection of a certain vendor?
Okay, so I would say say, if our main objective is to develop a AI infrastructure on a cloud, the first factor that organizations should consider, in my opinion, is measure the richness of the AI models that these cloud providers are offering. Okay, so why I am putting this as the first factor is the almost all leading cloud providers, they provide all basic requirements. They satisfy all basic requirements like high performance computing, scalable storage, and then secure environment and networking thing. So almost all leading cloud providers, they satisfy that requirement. Okay. So the differentiation comes on the upper higher layer where the richness of AI models that they own and offer. Okay, so I would say if your application, if you are planning to develop some vision-based application, or maybe document translation-based application, or maybe Gen AI or LLMs based or speech related application, depends on your application or majority of things. You can evaluate the different AI models that these cloud providers are offering. Okay, so Google has their set of own inbuilt models in the cloud, and then Azure has Azure AI Studio, and then they have several inbuilt vision, audio, video, and then also translation, OCR, different models, and of course the Gen AI models. And then AWS also, they have different set of models. There's an overlap, but at the same time they also have exclusive offerings as well. So we have to thoroughly understand these things, because this is one of the differentiating factor among these leading cloud providers. And then second factor that they have to consider is the service offerings. Let's maybe integration with existing tool. For an example, I would say we have to consider how well these cloud services integrate with your existing tools and workflows. For instance, Azure might work very well if your organization heavily uses Microsoft's products and services. Okay. And then again, the data analytics capabilities, maybe if you are going for a big data analytics, maybe Google has BigQuery, AWS Redshift, and then Azure has Synapse Analytics. So these are the service offerings also we have to consider. And then finally, the cost structure. So it depends on your the workload requirement, and depends on your commitment. You can negotiate with these cloud providers on cost structure, because these cloud providers also provide massive discounts for long-term commitments, and then reserve instances like that. So we have to consider that factor as well when we are deciding the cloud service provider. So so these are the factors I would say we have to consider when we make the final decision of which vendor to go for.
Absolutely. Dr. Sumine, I can't stress the importance of the points that you mentioned, and it's quite relevant that we did touch upon the differentiating factors of cloud vendors, because that is a topic that keeps coming up in conversations about when businesses try to make a decision in terms of how they should move forward. So thank you for expounding on the topic. And I think moving forward in the interest of time as well to our fourth segment, which is the final topic that we have for you today, which is on the ethical considerations and future trends. I would like to invite Chamila Sirivardana. Chamila, welcome to our panel. I hope everything is well on your end. So Chamila, we have heard the full series of the evolution of today's conversation, where we touched upon all the fundamental aspects regarding data management and the tools and services that we have. But now you are about to give us a different flavor to this whole topic in terms of looking at it from a bird's eye view and bringing on the lens of ethical considerations and overlaying that with how we should be interacting with the future trends as well. It's not just embracing technology as it comes, but how do we do it more ethically? So I would like to get your thoughts in terms of some of the main ethical and legal considerations that organizations should be keeping in mind when they're embarking on an advanced analytics journey.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for the question, Raghu. Yeah, first of all, let me quickly differentiate what this ethical and the legal considerations just to understand everybody. So basically, when we say ethical requirement, it's often I mean what it sets is a higher standard. Now, we say, for example, the organizations, there are legal requirements which organization has to comply with, right? So every organization has to comply with the local or the international standards. But what the ethical requirement tells us, it's set a higher standard. It's more about principles, values that we have to follow. So as it guides us, it guides organizations to act responsible. So that is my way of interpreting the ethical requirements when we compare the legal. So if I explain few areas in terms of ethical, what organization should be consider about, especially while they're doing the advanced analytics. So one of the main things is something Chanaka already discussed in his first question, I think. So what I want to highlight is, Ragbo, in terms of ethical requirements, organization should be able to ensure the data security. So that is what I feel one of the main requirements as organizations, because we collect, I mean, we have quite a lot of information, sensitive data within the organization. So what organization has to do is they have to make sure their data is secure. So that's why these days organizations are investing more and more on the data security. For example, now organizations like the organizations who are on the analytics, they spend to enhance their platforms where the advanced data analytics is running. So they spend quite a lot of money on ensuring the data security in storage while they store, transit, as well as while they're processing. So, for example, now when it comes to a platform, all these organizations want to comply with different standards. There are different standards like ISO and some other information security management standards also. So, what I feel one of the main ethical requirements which organizations are trying to achieve is ensuring their data security. So one thing they can do is they can make sure their platforms are secure. The other one is they can adopt the best practices in coding while they test, as well as in the productionizing. So those are some of the key things what I feel organization is trying to achieve in terms of data security to make sure their data is secure. In the advanced analytics world, that's why we are more concerned about anonymization, what we discussed previously also. So we are using some strong techniques like hashing. So it tells how organizations are committed to ensure this data security. What I feel one of the main requirements or ethical considerations that organizations has to consider. The other thing is about the data, keeping a high standard of data quality. Discussed in previous few panels also the same thing. I would like to reiterate because it's that important, because in the advanced analytics we are mainly working with data. So as organization, we should be able to maintain a highest level of data quality standard. So we should be able to enter to a data quality journey with proper data monitoring, and which gives us a continual improvement of data quality. So that is the second aspect I would like to highlight in terms of ethical considerations. And the other one is the proper governance. Actually, this is not just the data governance. This is again Chanaka and also Gorima discuss about the governance aspect. What I feel, this is an umbrella term. I mean, not just one activity or one process. I would say it covers different aspects, starting from discoverability, the lineage, and it covers data quality also as part of data governance. And the other thing is it talks about data privacy also. So what I feel, not just the data as a whole, data as well as the model should be governed properly. This is again what I want to highlight as an ethical requirement, which organizations, especially who are engaging with advanced analytics projects or advanced analytic engagements, should be able to achieve. The last point, Raghu,
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, the last point, I mean, these are very high level things that I want to touch upon. The final thing is it's about the accountability. I mean, as organization, we should be able to be accountable about the data that we handle, the data that we store, the data that we process, and as well as we should be able to make individuals accountable, especially about how they handle data. So those are the few things, Raghu, I just want to highlight. End of the day, I mean, this is mainly about the ethical part of it, right? And if I quickly touch upon the legal things. So I said ethical is, it sets a higher standard, right? But when it comes to legal, what it says is it has a minimum things that organization has to comply with, right? So everybody understand there's for the banking sector, we have the regulatory bodies like central bank, for TRC, for the telecommunication, but for IT, we don't have a direct regulatory body. So the legal requirements is really applies to us. So what I feel is, as organizations, we should be able to comply with the local as well as the international laws. For example, we say we're using or we're working with European country or European companies, we should be able to comply with GDPR. So that sort of understanding we have to have as organization. So this quickly touch on the legal aspect also. So that concludes my answer. Hopefully.
Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you. I think that was very holistic because like compared to the other segments, which were very definitive in terms of this or that, in terms of setting a milestones in certain, like in terms of setting a framework, right? But here it's more elusive, it's more subjective, given that ethics, if you look at it, would be derived based on how you define it to be. You would have certain standards, but then the adoption of ethics would be based on what the company or the business sees as relevant for its ways of operation. So I think going about setting standards for that is not always practical. But then I think the question what many people would be having is where can they go to for more understanding in terms of inspiration or reference, apart from just the acknowledgement of the importance of ethics, even on the legal aspect, right? Where can people go to consult more insight in terms of how to orient themselves in the spaces of ethical practices and the legal considerations?
Yeah, good question, Raghu, and thanks for asking this one. I mean, this is very important, especially for countries like Sri Lanka, which we are like emerging the data analytics these days. So what I feel is as organizations, I mean, we know individuals has its own rights to go and discuss, I mean, go and query about their data. So organization point of view, what I feel is one of the most appropriate way of getting the concern. So inquiring the organization. One of the main thing what I feel is every organization has a privacy policy. I mean, it describes clearly how organization handle sensitive data. Right? That is one of the main thing as individuals we can go and refer to organizations privacy policy. Right?
Yeah.
It gives us a, even if we require some further information, we can talk to. There's a section. I mean, they have mentioned to whom we should contact to in case of if we require some additional information. So we can refer to that individuals and we can get some more details. That is about the privacy policy of the organization. We can go and see how it's been handled. The other one is most of the organizations have compliance department, legal department, so we can directly talk to them and we can ask whatever the question that we had. Even the customer support, we can just call and we can get some information. We can ask from there whom should we can talk to get some more information. And finally, if we really require a personal advice, still we can go to legal or data protection consultants. But Sri Lankan, it's not that popular, but that is also an option what I feel, Rambo, in terms of where we can go to get the clarifications.
Thank you, Chandra. Thank you for that insight. And I'm sure this will be of a lot of relevance for the new companies, especially startups, which are coming in the space to ensure that they are aligned and fully compliant. So to end on a high note, I would like to pick your brain on what you think are some of the future trends that would take us from where we are to towards the paradigm of more advanced data management systems.
Yes, I mean, Raghu, this is a very, I would say, a very interesting question for everybody. Even, I mean, the few points that I'm going to discuss in this as an answer for this question, I encourage everybody just to go through while you're having some leisure time. It will be very much helpful you to understand where the data advanced analytics is heading as organization. What is where we should go in terms of achieving a very what we can say is a very effective data journey. So one of the main things as a concept I would like to highlight is um, data democratization. I mean, it's a nice word, but let me put this into a simple terms. I mean, what it says is uh, we know good old days data resides in most of the time data centers with IT people, data processing units only. But the trend is we should be able to make sure data is accessible to a wider range of people in the organization. That is what this whole concept discuss. So that's why the organizations are more towards architectures like data mesh. Sometimes you may have heard. Um, it leverages this data democratization. So if we talk about a little about this data mesh architecture, so now what it tries to achieve is the data ownership distribute among the domain teams. For example, we have finance, we have marketing, we have sales. So the ownership lies with these different domain teams, right? So end of the day, data is treated as a product, and with domain teams, they act as product owners. So I mean, this is something I discussed the data democratization collaboration. So that is directly trying to achieve using this sort of architecture. So this is really interesting thing. I encourage everybody to just go through this.
Yeah.
If you have some time, will very much interesting where the industry is heading, just to understand. The other one is data ops. Let me put that one also in a very simple term. We have heard DevOps, MLOps, say analytics, advanced analytics. We are working in data. So then data ops really matters. So mainly what it aims is streamlining and automating the data management related process. So what the topic that we are discussing is data management, right? So what data ops is trying to achieve is streamlining and automating this data management related process. Now, again, it reflect on the same things. It promotes the data collaboration, data democratization. So end of the day, it should achieve automation, CI/CD, data versioning, governance, monitoring, logging, quite a lot of areas if we talk about data ops, but end of the day, organizations, what they can achieve once they have implemented data ops practice, so they should be able to increase their data quality, they increase the time to insights, they can increase collaboration. There are so many advantages. So I would like to reiterate, just go and have a look what this data ops is. So it's really tells what we need to achieve as organizations who works with data. And the other one is I'll wind up with this one, the multi-cloud. So many discuss about cloud, right? What are the advantages of cloud? So what I'm trying to tell you is we'll go a step further, and as organizations will try to enable this multi-cloud environment because it gives us a flexibility. So there are pioneers in cloud. We have Azure, we have AWS, Google, but as organizations, we should be able to not stick to one cloud provider. This gives us quite a lot of benefits. We can have a competitive advantage. We can think of scalability, flexibility, a lot of things as organizations we should be able to achieve. Yeah, so those are the few things, but just to have one final thing on this, Ragbo. So since Suman is also discussed about the generative AI, apart from these broader three things I discussed, just I want to highlight about this generative AI. So because this is a very wide topic these days, everybody, even not only the organizations, even individuals talks quite a lot of information about generative large language models. But this is something I saw in one of the summits also, one of the data and AI summits. What the industry says is, what the industry sees is, even we have worked quite a lot of things on generative AI, still very, I mean, less than 20-30% of is being productionized. So what I wanted to highlight is, as organization, we should be able to securely navigate how we can serve our data to generative AI, because this is our data and we're talking about some other models with third party people has built. So as organization, what I feel, we should be able to navigate through carefully how we can serve our data to generative AI. So those are the few things, Raghu, what I want to highlight.
Thank you so much,
Apologize,
Shan.
it's a long
Yeah,
answer.
no,
Yeah.
it was just very, very helpful in terms of painting a much larger picture for us. Because these three key points, what you mentioned about data democratization, data ops, and multi-cloud orientation, these are webinars in its own way. Like you could have three different webinars just to discuss this, but I think the way in which you succinctly put this forward throws a bone for us to go and fetch now. I think there is like quite a bit that has been put out there in terms of simplicity in the way that you expressed for us to now expand further in our own time as research and adoption into ways of working as well. So thank you so much for shedding perspective in that regard. So I think that brings us to a conclusion of the four topics where our four panelists gave their opinions on some of the key aspects covering the multitude topic of data management. I saw some questions flowing in, and I think we had the first question, which was posed during Sumane's session, which Chanaka, you have answered regarding this is regarding recommendation of a medallion architecture for corporate environments. Chanaka, is there anything which you want to voice out further to your note, or Sumane, is there anything that you want to?
I answered that because I thought time will not enough. So the exact answer is yes. The medium between artists is a very important one on advanced analytics. That because of you may know not what type of sources you have. Right? Data types may be different in the JSON, Excel, the semi. You may have kind of various type of data, right? So those need to land first and curate them and to create a curate the layer that maybe you can say the bronze, gold, silver, gold, or maybe the raw, intermediate, primary, whatever. That the last curated layer is the layer that you have to think as the single source of truth. That single source of truth, that because of data quality, I started with that quote, right? So data is the basic, right? So all about data, that performance or the model hyperparameters, everything is not about model performance or model behaviors. It's about data. So the data quality is very important, right? So manage data in the right place is very important. So that's why you need the curated layer that function as a single source of truth that you can use for your advanced analytics. Maybe you have data warehousing and also the generative AI source. But the problem is, if you need to move with the real time, that's the only way that middle art is not support. It will be slow down your real time. Because real time is not only getting data real time to your storage. Real time the use case is being getting data from source real time. The thing I can within few seconds. I can recall actually one of use cases when telecommunication site. Within 1 second, within 5 seconds, we need to provide the exact results from CDRs. CDRs is the called records. So that kind of use cases, you can't use the middle architectures, that much of middle and no other architectures. You have to get data, analyze, and provide results. On that kind of scenarios, you may not use middle architecture, but middle is one of better architecture that you need to use for advanced analytics use cases. Yes.
Thank you, Shanak. And this question was raised by Kasun Pereira, so I hope that this was addressed effectively, Kasun. And thank you for raising that. There's another question.
Let me also add
yes.
one thing there.
Yes, please,
just,
sir.
I mean, as correctly Chanaka mentioned, what the Mendelian architecture, quite a lot of helpful in achieving a high data quality. But one thing I just want to add is, I mean, it's a very nice architecture. It clearly there's the separation of concerns. I mean, as Chanaka explained, there's different layers, silver, bronze, silver, gold. And it clearly tells us what we are going to do at each and every layer. And at the end of the day, it creates one single source of truth. It's the other good side of this Mendelian architecture. Yeah, just an addition on top of what Chanaka answers.
Exactly. Thank you, Chanaka.
Very much appreciated. Thank you so much. We have another question from Rifli Hassan on how to get buy-in for the data governance programs and how to onboard multiple streams for the data governance initiative. Once again, Chanaka, thank you for reaching out and addressing it on the chat itself. But then would you like to voice your opinions, or is there anyone else who has any perspectives on this from the panel? This is regarding, once again, on getting buy-in for the data governance programs and on how we can onboard multiple streams for the data governance initiative.
Yeah. So actually, yes, again, time passes. So the basic answer was that I mentioned. So data governance is kind of the broad topic that we need to discuss. So when you need to govern some multiple stream, maybe sources, your data lake or your advanced environment, it's not only data to govern your models, then how actually provide your resource to end user. That means govern your users access. So govern is data, model, access. So 3 types of governance first. So one tool may not support for that because of the environments are a bit different. You are working with multi-cloud architecture that maybe the Chamila and so many explained. You may work with a hybrid architecture, set of on-prem and cloud-based architecture. So one tool or services is not support you to govern all architectures and environment in one single place. But the thing is, it's not about tool or services, it's about a framework. The organization should have to create one single framework. How, what data, what environment, how, when, and how actually, what data points that you need to govern that architecture, what are the kind of profiling you need to do, the business glossaries, what rules, what are the data point rules that you need to manage like that. That's a wide variety of topics. I simply so those things you have to framework first. That frameworks you need to build first. Then and only you need to think about what are the tools and services. If you have very clear the correct framework, you can use simple Excel also to do the government, right? I'm saying that's kind of the big process, but yes, the framework is the important thing.
Yeah.
First build the framework, then onboard your tool and services to govern your environment. That's basically because Chamila is our governance person. So go ahead if you
Yeah, fantastic answer, Janaka. I mean, the whole, I mean, what Chanak is trying to emphasize here is mainly what matters is the framework, not just the tool. I mean, tool is secondary. We should be able to go because we have, in the data governance journey, we have different, we have gone through different phases and we have understand exactly what we need to achieve as an organization and what is the different core principles that we have to work on. And at the end of the day, we should be able to have a proper framework, and on top of that, we can do whatever the tools that we preferred. So that is the real importance. Yeah, it's a nice answer, Chan. Thanks, Chan.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
We have one final question which has come in from the audience. That is with respect to what's in store for the future on the context of data management. Are there any current developments that stand out? So I think this was partially addressed, Shamila, in. Sorry, is there a network? Is there a network breakdown?
We can hear you, Raghu.
Am I audible on your end?
Yeah, audible
Yes,
for
Raghu.
me.
Yeah, it works.
Hello. Shanaka or someone from the panel, can you just let me know if I could be heard from your end?
Yes, Raghu, we can hear you.
I'm not too sure what has just happened. Let's see.
Hello.
Raghu, we can hear you.
Sorry, there was just a small network lag. Yeah, sorry about that. No, I was just pointing out to the last question, which was raised by Nadim, with respect to what's in store for the future in the context of data management. So I presume this was partially addressed, Shamila, in your final segment,
Yes.
where you introduced the topics to us with respect to data democratization, data ops, multi-cloud orientation. I mean, I know that we touched upon this in the periphery, but across these three, is there anything particularly which you would highlight with significance, say that this is something that would be the key defining factor in this hemisphere of data management?
Yeah, Raghu, I wanted to highlight the same thing I discuss in the question that you raised previously. So mainly what I feel is what we have to understand is now the data and the access to the data is now more of decentralized. So we are talking about collaboration. We are discussing about democratization. In that case, as organizations, we should be able to lean towards architectures, data models, platforms which leverage that concept. So that is first understanding. I think everybody has to get as organization. That is where we should heading. So that is one thing. And apart from the things that I discussed about data ops and multi-cloud, any organization is interested, they can go and like try and implement different approaches or strategies like no code, low code things. We are discussing, cloud agnostic, platform agnostic. There are different other concepts around how the industry is heading towards achieving a competitive advantage. So apart from this, I would like to highlight this no code, low code thing and cloud agnostic approach, tool agnostic. Yeah, those are the few things, Raghu, I would like to highlight. Chanak, anything that you learned from your side?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Shamil. I think that's the answer. So what I need to emphasize here, the more think about when you're going to actually implement or think about the data management or the architecture, think about this, the 7 key things that we discussed on our beginning, right? So regardless of your tools or architecture, it's real time or the on-prem hybrid, Gen AI, advanced analytics, those are the key principles that need to think about sources, what are the indication, storage, processing, security, governance, access. So if you are matching those with the need, your roadmap on these 7 key principles, then the architectures that you can change that's what you want. For example, I think the unified data architecture is the one other things that we need to emphasize here, other than to your point. So unified data architecture is what actually exactly cover these 7 points. So yeah, others I think Chamila covered.
Thank you, Chanak, and then thank you to the rest of the panel as well. I'm being conscious of the time, even though we've got 9 minutes. I don't think we have any other unanswered questions. Unless there are any final questions that the audience has for us, please feel free to go on unmute and voice it out. If you don't want to type it, well, you can type it as well. We'll be here to take any questions. Is there anything else from the audience? Let's just wait a couple of seconds for anyone to just unmute and ask their questions. Okay. Brilliant. So thank you, everyone. And I think with that, we come to a wrap of today's insightful webinar on effective data management for successful business implementation. And before concluding, I'd like to extend a heartfelt thank you once again to our distinguished panel of speakers, Chanaka, Dr. Sumile, Chamila, and Purnima, for sharing their invaluable expertise and experiences with us today. So today we explored the critical challenges and strategies in data management, and we delved into solutions for building robust artificial intelligence infrastructure, and we discussed the ethical considerations and future trends shaping the world of data analytics. Now, remember, at the end of all of this, what we mentioned is that effective data management is not just about handling data, but about transforming it into a strategic asset. Transforming it into a strategic asset. That's the key thing that drives informed decision making, operational efficiency, and most importantly, innovation. And as you leave this session, I hope you are equipped with these new ideas and strategies to implement within your own organizations. And most importantly, I thank you all, the participants, for your participation and engagement. And we look forward to seeing you in our future webinars as well. So in conclusion, I'd like to add, stay curious, stay informed, and continue to harness the power of data to propel your business forward. And with that, I'd like to say thank you to everyone once again and have a great day. Thank you from all of us here at OCTAVE. Thank you very much. See you at our next webinar series.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, Rakbo.
Goodbye.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone. Thank you, Ranga.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.